Welcome to the Dead Pair Podcast with your hosts, Jason Rambo and Sean Alley. We bring you all things sporting clays. Our focus is bringing new shooters to the sport and helping all shooters by giving you the most useful info from coaches, pro shooters, gun clubs, product and service specialists. The Dead Pair Podcast, what every shotgun shooter wants to hear.
Paul?
Dead Pair.
Welcome to the Dead Pair Podcast. I'm your host, Jason Rambo, and with me, always the big ugly guy, Sean Alley. What's up, buddy?
Thank you so much. And I'm feeling ugly today. I'm kind of fighting a head cold. The nasty Ohio weather's gotten to me.
You don't have the Chinese lung herpes disease, do you?
No, it's not that. Just a typical cold. Nose is all stuffed up. Just kind of feeling cruddy, nothing major.
Typical Buckeye weather.
Yeah, it won't kill me. Just got to deal with it.
So we, since the last show, we shot Dan Bailey's place, Eagle's Nest. He had what he called the Frostbite Open.
Frostbite Open, yep.
Two small 50-bird feed tasks, one 50-bird new style feed task, one 50-bird old style feed task.
Thankfully, they were 50-bird.
Yeah, well, Dan throws some world-class targets for sure.
Oh, he always does, but, feed task takes a little longer to shoot, and with the 20-some degree temperatures we had that morning, I don't think you want to be standing out there for 100 birds unless you're really committed.
No, but I don't want to say it wasn't that bad because I'm so anxious to get out of this weather. But at the same time, it really wasn't that bad because you're not out there for a long extended period.
Well,
of time.
you shot the was it the old style first thing in the morning? Yeah. That was 9:00, and it was like 19, I think, when I looked at my phone.
Yeah, but we were really fortunate. There was no wind, and as you know, wind can take that 19 and make it feel like negative 19.
Yeah,
so.
but 19's still not pleasant.
Yeah, no, but I shot it in the morning and. Paired up with you and JD, and we shot in the afternoon, and a lot of fun, man. His targets are awesome.
It warmed up to a balmy, I think it was about 35, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
Mid-30. It was just above freezing, so it wasn't terrible, but we suffered through and came out the other end.
Yep, for sure. Well, Sean, we're on to part 3 of the gear series. Couple things we're going to talk about today. Owning your own personal trap. I think it's a very valuable piece of equipment. I know the clubs don't like hearing me say that, but there's reasons for owning your own trap and still going to the club. The club is valid.
Yeah, absolutely. But let's face it. We're very fortunate where we live. There's a lot of clubs within an hour's drive of us that we can go and play on. And then there's people in the rest of the country. They might be 2, 3, 4 hours away from their nearest club. So it's like, what do you do? Do you not shoot at all? No, you get your own trap and you set it up in your yard and you get after it.
That's right. Chad Roberts was gracious enough to help us out. Once again, he came through for us. Chad's sponsored by Atlas Traps.
Yeah.
So he was able to hook us up with Scott Manskeeper, who is one of the owners of Atlas Traps. He's going to come on here in a few minutes. We got some questions for him. Hopefully we can answer a lot of the questions that the listeners might have. But if not, if we don't cover everything, maybe you do have a question for us. Scott's a really good guy, and they got a good customer service program. So, sure, they'd love to talk to you if we don't get to your question. So.
Absolutely.
But Sean, you've shot behind my traps there at the house. There's a difference between junk and quality traps for sure.
Oh, there's absolutely, just like anything. A lot of the cheaper traps you see, like at your big box stores and stuff, they're Chinese manufactured. And again, I'm not really knocking them, but they're not quite the quality where I would consider they're going to hold up long term. It's not an investment grade machine.
Right. Oh, I'm knocking them. Trust me. I think the one that I had, I think I actually shot it. I had as much as I could stand of the thing breaking and constantly breaking targets.
Yeah.
It was a little single stack machine, and I won't say any names, but
well, they're just kind of flimsy. Yeah. The metals on them are weak, and they're kind of flimsy. They're not built real well.
Right.
Can you throw targets with them? Well, sure you can, but I think at some point you find out you're fighting it more than you should.
Right, exactly. And another thing too is some of the aftermarket remotes, you see like long range controllers is a name that comes to mind because I own one. they don't work with those. They don't work with those traps. I mean, you got to have
like
a
proprietary little key fob or whatever.
You got to have a receiver that mounts on the trap when you're using a remote like that, and they don't jive. They do not. They don't work well together. If you know a little bit about wiring and all that kind of thing, I'm sure you can make it work. But for a guy that runs heavy equipment for a living, it's not something that I'm getting into.
Not your forte?
Not my forte. But no, and another thing too, we're going to get to Wayne Morgan from Morgan Opticals coming on.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
He's going to answer a lot of questions for us about eyewear. And I know there's been some other podcasts lately that have been very, very valid, very helpful. But we're going to ask a few different questions to Wayne and what he offers and what he can do to help the shooters.
Yeah, well, I mean, your eyes are such a huge part of the sport. I mean, and having the proper, not only vision protection, obviously for safety reasons, but just having the right lenses, being able to see clearly, be able to see the target clearly in different lighting conditions.
That's right.
That is so important for any shooter.
Well, the old saying holds true. You can't hit what you can't see.
That's right.
So
that's right.
I know my eyes are terrible. I've got, I'm threefold. So I have astigmatism. I have cataracts, and I also have presbyopia. And we'll talk to Wayne about this, but basically in a nutshell, the cataracts is like a milky film over the back lens in your eye.
Right.
And the presbyopia is where the back lens gets stiff. So it doesn't want to expand and contract and focus real well. So premium shooting glasses with the right prescription are so key to me. And
because otherwise we're going to take you out in the pasture and put you down. Right?
Yeah, pretty much. Pretty much. Well, a perfect example, if the target went up into a blue sky, I was actually seeing like a halo around that target. Yeah. And that sounds weird. And especially if it was an orange target in a blue sky, I was in trouble.
Yeah.
And the right pair of glasses helped me exponentially. So.
Yeah, and I used to shoot with just the regular run-of-the-mill, safety glasses that you get with any sporting goods store, $25, $35, $45, when you name it. And when you do finally wind up with a good quality pair of glasses, it is night and day. I never would have believed it 3 years ago, but I firmly believe it now. If you get good quality glasses, they can mean the world to you in your shooting.
Absolutely. So, well, hey, Scott's waiting on us to call. So we're going to get to him. And then when we get done talking to Scott, we're going to catch up with Mr. Morgan Optical.
Yep,
so,
absolutely.
All right. Well, y'all stay tuned. Awesome. So on the line with us, we have Scott Manskeeper from Atlas Traps. Scott, how you doing tonight?
I'm great. How are you guys doing?
Evening, Scott. This is Sean Alley here.
Hi, Sean.
Scott, do me a favor. I'm fortunate enough, I've talked with you plenty of before, and I've dealt with you before, but for those listening, can you tell us a little bit about how you got started with Atlas Traps?
Sure. Yeah. So Atlas is made up of three partners, myself being one of them. Larry and John Ciro are the other two. And so in the early 1980s, Larry patented the first 12-volt machine in the U.S., I believe it was around 82, and his company at that time was called Hunter's Point Traps. So he started in the early 80s and building the first machine he came out with was a single stack. It was a quick fire, and then onto the quick fire 2. And it's kind of cool because every once in a while somebody will still send one back in for service, and we've got all the parts for it and everything. So it's kind of neat seeing the older stuff. So in 2002, Larry and John and I were talking. And at that time, I think the most inexpensive automatic machine in the U.S. was about $1,150 or $1,250, somewhere in that price range. And so we realized that there was a need to make a more of a consumer price point. So we took some of Larry's designs that he had been working on and refining over the years and designed a machine around that. And that was actually our AT50, which is our single stack machine that we still make. And of course, we're multiple refinements down the line by now on that machine. But so we came out with that machine and started selling that in late 2002. And it was predominantly stainless and aluminum, so it was really unlike anything that was out there. And we did really well right from the start with that machine. Cabela's picked us up right away. So about a year after that, we decided that we needed to make a bigger machine, just kind of like I think what everybody does. And so then we took our AT50 and then put a bigger motor and gearbox and beefed it up and a stronger spring and a larger magazine, and then came out with our AT250, which we still produce, and we're multiple revisions down the line from our original machine there.
Right.
And so early on, it really just at these price points that we came out with, we really gained a good market share on the what I'll call like the backyard traps or the residential consumer type.
More like a homeowner type trap.
Exactly. Yeah, I think we filled a great void early on, which was really good. And then now which I'll get into in a little bit, we kind of created a little bit of an issue for ourselves on the commercial side, because with that market share that we gained, now when we talk to people that haven't seen us in years and we talk to them about our commercial machines, they equate us back to the little single stack machine or our AT250,
right, and
don't really equate us into, the bigger stuff, which we can kind of get into that. So yeah, right out of the gate in late 2002, it started with our AT50, then our 250. And in late 2005, we designed our AT400. And what we did with that machine is we took Hunter's Point's HP 330, which was a 330 target machine, and then modified that, changed some of the designs, and came up with our AT400. So
yeah,
our AT400 has been on the market since really about early 2006. And I think we're probably about 6 generations down the line on it now. So it's a completely different machine than where we first started.
Well, Scott, I got a question for you. So, me and Jason have been shooting for a long time, not registered targets in particular, but, just backyard, going out in the field and having fun with our buddies type of thing. And so for the listeners out there that are just getting started, they're kind of on a budget. There's a lot of what I'm going to call, economical budget style traps out there. And let's say we're trying to keep, that price point under $500. Now, do you guys offer something to the homeowner in that range, or do we have to go a little bit higher than that?
Well, pretty close. So our what we call our Patriot, it's a 50 target fully automatic machine that sells for $599.
Okay.
So we're not quite under that $500 threshold, but with our Patriot, we're at $599, and then our AT50, which is a 50 target machine that's fully automatic. It's just made of stainless and aluminum. It's got a few more bells and whistles on it. It's $799. So
I just picked a number. I mean, again, 500 is just kind of hypothetical. I'm thinking that's a number most guys would deal with pretty easily.
Right. And the machines that you're talking about, I believe all of those are now made in China.
Yes.
And
they look it too.
Yes.
Well, they sent a couple of our machines over to duplicate, and luckily they didn't come back the same way that they went over. And so we still do a lot of business with our Patriot and our AT50, and I think for just that person you're talking about, somebody who doesn't want to spend a lot of money on a machine, and they want to go out, maybe they have a new shooter or a kid or somebody who just has never shot, and they don't want to invest a lot into some of these larger machines. I think it's a great price point at our Patriot and our AT50 to be able to go out and throw some great targets and have a machine that it's not a disposable item. That's something that you're going to have for literally, there's no reason you wouldn't have it your whole lifetime. Everything on them is easily serviceable. And since we're the manufacturer, everything is always on the shelf. If you need a part, everything is always here and in stock.
Right.
Gotcha. That's good to know.
Well, I can testify to what you're talking about, and, I'll throw it right out there. These Chinese machines, I've had them, and you spend half the day working on a machine because it's constantly breaking targets or, won't feed correctly. And the remotes aren't, very good past 100 feet. And, the whole purpose of this is to go out and be able to, if you're in a competition level like Sean and I, be able to go out and train. Or if you just want to go out and practice, or if you're even just shooting with your buddies and the family or whatever, the enjoyable part is not working on a machine. and that's
exactly.
That, Sean brought up the $500 mark. I can tell you that I did the eBay thing, and then I bought some of these Chinese machines for a couple $300, and I had 3 of them, and I ended up throwing them all in the dumpster, literally.
Yeah, they don't last.
Yeah, and I spent more money on a good quality machine, and it was like night and day. It was like, if I would have just done this from the start, here we go again, spending money in the wrong direction.
Exactly.
But if I would have just done this from the start and spent a little bit more money to have a good quality machine, the whole experience would have been a lot better.
Yeah, it's safe to say you could have saved a little frustration.
Well, that and, probably not letting my kid hear choice words and, busted fingers.
And let's face it, nobody wants to waste money. You go out there, you spend, $300-400 isn't a ton of money, but it's money.
Right.
And to take something that you bought and you have hopes of it lasting for, at least, 5-10 years, and then you're throwing it in the trash a year later, or 2 years later. I mean, that's just really, that's money wasted. You might as well light it on fire.
I agree. And if you think about, okay, let's say Saturday rolls around, you don't live in the country or somewhere where you can throw targets. So you got to load your machine up, you load targets, you load your battery, your guns, your wife, your kids, or whoever else is going to go shoot with you. And you go out and you get everything set up and the machine doesn't work.
Yeah.
Your just head explodes at that point. So that's one thing that we really take a lot of pride in the way we've designed our machines and the way our machines work. Everything that we do is hand built right here in our shop in Kansas. And when you're throwing something as fragile as an egg, say 60 miles an hour, it's just got to be right.
Right.
Yeah.
And if it's not, and you go out and you got to work on it, and your wife's there and your kids are there and they're looking at you like you just run the day because your machine doesn't work, then that's got its own frustrations.
Yeah, you got to deal with that in the after effects.
Right.
So my partner John and I, which may sound a little crazy and time consuming, he and I test fire and calibrate every single machine before it leaves our building, which spreads us extremely thin.
I can imagine.
It's we're going to ship this thing across the country or out of the country, and when it gets there, you just you don't want to ruin the day for anyone, and so they are mechanical, and something could happen in shipping, but you try to make provisions and handle everything correctly on the front side, so you don't ruin anybody's day.
Well, that kind of leads into my next question. Obviously, we know what sets you apart from the I'll just say it, cheap Chinese machines. But can you tell us what sets Atlas Traps apart from the other trap manufacturers? And when I say other trap manufacturers, I mean like the bigger names that are out there.
Yeah, so we've got plenty of competitors who do make really good quality products, and they're not made in China. And so one thing you get with us is we've designed everything ourselves. We've designed them to be as simple as possible so that a non-mechanical person could set them up. And if something would happen to the machine, they can call us and we can FaceTime with them or send videos and, things like that. So just one of the little caveats is we've made them simple. We've reduced the machines to the bare minimum components, and those components, especially all the critical components, we'll either use like a slick finish 304 stainless or a T6 aircraft grade aluminum, so they're not going to have corrosion issues. And that kind of goes across the whole spectrum of our machines. Now, where I really think the big differences between Atlas and our competitors is our product design, and really kind of going into the commercial side of our machines. When you look at what all these machines do. We're all throwing a clay target. That's, there's no secret there.
Right.
But the real intricacies come into place when you look at, are you putting a lot of spin on the target? Are you throwing an accurate target? And now over the last, say, 10 years, with all these extreme angles that we're throwing, can you consistently throw, a Shondell presentation out of a standard sporting clay machine? And with the angles that we can throw, we can lean our machines equally left or right. I believe we're the only one that can lean them to the extreme right angles. Well, I don't believe that. I know that because we went out and bought all of our competitors' machines to find out what they can and can't do. So I believe we get the simplicity, we get the performance out of the machines, to throw these crazy angles, to throw them accurately. And the way we trap a target before it's thrown, we touch it in 4 spots where everybody else is just touching in 3. And so what that does is that trains the target into the same exact spot when the machine's cocked and ready to fire, so that when it throws, you get that repeatability and you get that accuracy out of it.
Wow.
In addition to that, we're the only manufacturer that puts their throwing arm on the leading side of the main shaft.
Okay.
Which what that does is that gets the throwing arm trained into the target finger in the back rail, and it's over, let's say a standard right-handed machine, it's over to the right-hand side of the machine a few inches farther than everybody else because their arm's on the trailing side of the main shaft. Well, what that does, it gives us a faster release time. It also trains that target into place, so it's in a tight pocket, and that really helps the accuracy.
Right.
And I think we're the only company that uses polyurethane on their throwing strip, or I believe everybody else is using rubber. And the poly that we use isn't as UV sensitive as rubber.
Okay.
So that really holds up. But we use a durometer that's soft enough that really puts a lot of grip on the target. So that's the thing you want. Well, I don't know if you want, but when I'm shooting, all I care about is one BB hitting that target, and I need it to break.
Right, yeah, exactly. I mean? The magic BB. I don't
necessarily need to dust it. Just give me a break. So, if you've got more spin on that target, it's going to be more susceptible to cracking or breaking just with, one BB. So
gotcha.
We think the spin is huge, but also another thing is how easy it is to adjust our machines. Yeah. We redesigned our AT400 and our whole commercial line about 7 years ago, and at that time we halted production, and kind of a funny backstory that really was a catalyst that caused us to halt production is we've got a course in Huntsville, Texas. It's Able Ammo, and Randy Wright is the owner, and I think everybody in the industry knows of Abel's and or Randy, and they're just a huge name in the industry. And I get a call from Randy on a Saturday. So anytime Randy calls, it's important, and he's got a very clear way of letting you know what he thinks. and so I get a call from Randy on a Saturday, and he said, "Scott, we got to talk." And so obviously I'm all ears. And he said, "You don't live in South Texas, but this is what we deal with down here. We need, and he already had our machines, but he said, we need your machine to do this, this, and this." And so needless to say, I agreed, and we stopped production, and we went through this redesign, and we incorporated all these things that Randy and some of the other target setters and range owners said that they needed. Mm-hmm. And so when we came out of that, we have a machine that you can walk up to. Let's say you're in a shoot and you need to change, or you're setting up for a shoot and you got to change the course and you need to do it quickly. You can walk up to our machines without tools and change the vertical or the left or right tilt angles. Without any tools, we have ratcheting levers that are very easy to deal with.
Right. And
also on our springs, we've got it to where you can either get them with hand knobs or you can put a standard nut to use a wrench on it. So if you want to completely toolless, we can do that. But now on our commercial line, we've been putting a a nut on the mainspring, just so there's no chance that it could ever migrate during a shoot, or especially a registered shoot or anything like that. So
right.
Incorporating some of these ideas for these machines to survive in South Texas, we had to really go through and weatherproof them. And so really provision and design parts to cover our motor, our gearbox, and our one-way bearing that we put a lifetime warranty on, and all these other parts of the machines that we beefed up. And since we did that, that's probably been the one of the biggest catalysts that have changed the direction of our company, because where we started out in the individual consumer market, now a majority of our business is in the commercial side. And I think it really stems from the redesign of our commercial line and what they can do now. They're amazing.
Nice. Okay, so along those same lines, and this may be a dumb question, but hey, I'm going to ask it anyways. So I know that you guys make various models of throwers, and there's probably purposes in mind for the types of targets they throw. Along those same lines, are there different throwers, traps for different disciplines of shooting? So, i.e. A trap shooter versus a skeet shooter versus a sporting clay shooter versus a fee test?
Sure.
Is there different traps for different sports, or do you just adapt the traps you have with like accessories and such to do those jobs differently?
Well, when you yes and yes, I guess you could say. Like if we talk about let's talk about our commercial line, our AT400, our AT300, and our AT150 are all the same machine.
Okay.
So they do. It's got the same arm, the same spring, frame, and all these parts. So just the base machine has this, they're all designed the same way. So we get this instant release. So for, let's say, a skeet set, we take that base machine and we integrate that into our micro adjustable skeet base, to where you can adjust the vertical, the horizontal, and then the what we call canting, or leaning the machine left and right to flatten out a target in case you got a crosswind. So
okay,
the core machine is the same, and then we'll integrate it to a skeet base or an ATA trap base. But the standard sporting clay model is our base unit. You're not going to put any moving mechanisms like an ATA or a wobble base, or I think we're the only one in the world that makes a 3-axis wobble base, which is a ton of fun if you've never seen one.
I don't think I've ever used it.
Yeah, I've watched the videos online. It's really cool.
Is it?
Yeah,
it's all over the place.
We're gonna have to get ProSign Studio to fork up the money so we can practice for that show.
Yeah, corporate expenditure there. Okay.
Yeah. We make that 3-axis wobble. We make it in our AT50. We can integrate into our 3-axis wobble. So we make it in our AT50, our AT250, which those are in our consumer line. Mm-hmm. And then our AT150, 300, and 400, to where you can have this 3-axis completely automatic base that just litters the sky with targets.
Wow.
Oh yeah. Well, let me ask you. Okay, is it true that Atlas was the first ones to come out with the Loon target?
I would say yes.
And for the listeners, a Loon target is. And help me out here, Scott. It's a full-size target that is completely upside down in the machine when it launches.
You literally load the targets upside down. And it's, at first you think, why would you ever want to do that? And somebody posed that question to John one time. Well, why don't you make a machine to throw targets upside down? Literally, he took it personally. And I think he was throwing targets out of it in a couple days, and then, a few refinements here and there. And then, so we've been throwing the Loon for, I can't remember what year we came out with it. It might've been 5 years ago.
Oh, really?
I'd have to look, but we've been throwing targets on it for quite a while. We've used it in some registered shoots, but one thing that's cool about our we call it the Loon because it's a play on the, waterfowl, and it's just a crazy target, but you can skip these on the water, but like our standard sporting clay models, you can lean this thing all the way over left or all the way right and throw some really wild targets. And as a shooter, if you don't see what this machine is and you don't see that this target's loaded upside down and it's, you know, it's quartering in, but also leaned out. So it's kind of looking like a low chandelle, and about the time you can see it and your eyes focus on it, you realize you're looking at the dimples. It just completely messes with your mind.
So I've never shot at this target. I've seen the videos online, but let me ask. So where like a Batu comes out flat and then turns face, this would come out. Okay, so if you put the lean on it, this would come out faced and then turn flat, correct? If you put the correct lean on it?
Yeah. Wow. Well, let's say you're standing at home plate and we've got a loon that's throwing right to left and it's on first base throwing over to third. We can lean it out so when it throws, you're going to see the dimples, or we can lean it in so when it throws, you're going to see the belly.
Oh, wow.
And then where it's really fun is on a tower, because it doesn't fall like anything else. You know, a right side up target, you have it cupping the air and you kind of get some of that loft.
Right.
This doesn't act anything like that. It kind of drops like a stone, which people aren't really used to seeing. So yeah, it's a really fun machine. We're constantly tweaking our machines, and even our loon right now, we're making another tweak to it. And that kind of goes back to how we started with our machines and how they've got to where we are now is we never really leave anything alone. Where there's always a way we can make something a little better, make it throw a little better. And I don't know if you guys have been able to shoot off of any of our commercial line, but these machines, you can actually lean all the way over to a 45 degrees and then tip them even farther. And as long as gravity doesn't tip that target out of the magazine, they'll feed and throw. So that's given us the ability to throw chandelles and teals out of a standard sporting clay machine.
Wow.
Which is really wild.
Scott, I want to back up just for a second if we could. As you know, this is part of our gear series, and the reason why I thought traps would be so important for the gear series, and I got to be careful here, I don't want to upset clubs, but there's a reason behind this. So a guy like me, the clubs last shoot are out, some of them are as early as 4 o'clock, and in the summertime, it'll stay daylight till darn near 10 o'clock, right? So for me, it's a way to come home during the week, and, I've got a little bit of land, and I can set throwers up and still get my practice in. It's also for the guy that lives remote, and maybe he is 2.5 hours away from a club. It's a way for him to practice as well. Obviously, budgets are going to dictate what a person can afford to buy. And
sure.
You talked about the AT50, which is a single stack machine, but you also have the AT150 that is a carousel machine, holds 150 targets, and it does everything that the big commercial 400s do. Can you talk a little bit about the price ranges on that and what is available to the individual?
Yeah, so our AT150 is a product of literally listening to individuals, just like you're talking about, who like to shoot competitively, and even if they don't like to shoot competitively, they like to do good at their local club. And so we've got an AT300, and it sells for $19.99, and while a lot of people can afford that, a lot of people don't actually want to pay that for just for a home use machine. And so after talking with a lot of people about this, a lot of customers that didn't want to go to the 300, we came up with a 150 to provide that individual with a way to replicate everything he sees at the club, but at home. And right. So to just give you a little lineage, to make our 300, we took our AT400 and we reduced the size of the magazine. So we cut the rods down and we changed the motor. The motor's about an inch shorter. So, and then everything else is literally the same. They're same part numbers. We don't even separate that out. So to make the 150, we took the 300 And since we're holding less targets, we could make the top half of the machine a little bit smaller, but everything else is literally the same as our 300. So our 150 does everything our 400 does. It does all the same extreme angles. We've thrown it 120 yards, so we didn't limit its capabilities. It has the adjustable handles on it. You know, it's got the same warranty as our commercial line, which is, I don't think I hit on that, but we've got a 6-year warranty on our commercial traps.
Nice. Plus
a lifetime warranty on the one-way bearing, and the components in our control box have a lifetime warranty as well.
Nice.
Which I believe all of our competitors are doing about a 3-year warranty. So effectively we double what everybody else is doing there. So and with our 150, we've got other competitors who have comparable machines for capacity and close to price. But I believe they've scaled down the capabilities of those machines where we didn't. We just incorporated everything from our 400 into the 150, and it's unbelievable. Somehow it throws slightly smoother than our 400, and we haven't really figured that one out.
Well, you know, the other side of the coin, it's not just time availability and stuff like that I talked about, but if you are on the competition side, like Sean and I are, a lot of clubs, even if a guy could get to the club in time, even if there is one close, a lot of clubs, due to insurance, you're not allowed to shoot out of the box. So if a guy's got a, 50-yard crosser and he wants to go out and get close and work his way back, he's not allowed to do that. And that's what I think. And don't misunderstand me. I'm not trying to be a salesman here, everybody listening, but it's a very valuable tool, in my opinion, for training and for practice to have a personal track, even if you can only afford one. It's helped Sean and I. Sean comes out and practices with me there at the farm now and then, and it's so valuable because you can set up whatever you want to work on. You can change the distance, speed, angle, and work your way one side or another to it, where you may not have that capability to practice that at a club. So it is a very valuable tool.
Yeah, and if you look at these, let's say these $500 machines, or even our AT50 or AT250, well, they're great machines, and you can have a lifetime of fun with them. You can't necessarily go out and replicate that Shondell or that teal shot or this screaming 50-yard crosser, with that machine. So that's where our 150 has really, again, kind of filled another void.
Almost like its own niche market.
Yeah, absolutely. And now all of a sudden, we've been doing a lot of 5 stands with our AT150 because, now they're $15.99 each. You can put 3 or 4 or maybe even 5 of them together at, it's not cheap, but it's not as expensive as it used to be.
Right.
Well, I got a question. With that scenario in mind, so if we've got a listener out here or on here listening and they want to maybe buy a couple of your traps, they've got a couple acres to set up a little bit of a course. Is that something that you guys can help them with? I mean, if they're not familiar with how to lay out a course or how to lay out their throwers to get the maximum potential out of them, are you guys able to help them out a little bit on placement and stuff?
Absolutely. So we can be as involved or not as involved as anybody would like us to be. And you wouldn't believe the amount of layouts that we've done with Google Earth where, somebody say on the East Coast or West Coast and we can't get to them, and we'll Google Earth right at their location and help them lay it out. And
really?
They'll send us videos and we'll run those back and forth and give recommendations. But as far as even delivery and design and installation, we can handle all of that. And like I said, be as involved as they want us to be. If they want a complete turnkey where we come out and set them up a couple machines or a 5 stand or a course, we can do everything.
That's awesome.
Scott, I know you guys exclusively sell long range controllers. Am I correct in saying that?
Well, we do. We sell a lot of long range, and love their products, and Neil does a great job over there, and Jeremy, they're just amazing to work with. But we also sell a couple other brands too, but I would say 95% of what we sell is long range.
Does Atlas work with long range to develop new products based on like customer feedback?
So we're always talking to Jeremy and Neil about this, and one thing was getting the MT with MT controller, which is a wireless 5-stand controller with voice activation, and just really relaying feedback. So yeah, it's a kind of a constant thing with we're handing off information back and forth. But Long Range did make a 3-axis wobble controller exclusively for us, which is a really amazing product. It allows you from a handheld wireless to fire your machine, but this 3-axis wobble base has 3 motors that move it like left to right, up and down, and then you're leaning it over to throw curling targets. So you can manually nudge these functions or turn them off or turn them on. And where I think that's really a huge benefit is if you take one of our 3-axis wobbles and put it on a tower.
Yeah, the guy doesn't have to climb up there to adjust.
Exactly. You can't, it takes time to get up there and down and move this and that. So with this controller, it's really just, it's been excellent.
That's so awesome. If I had Sean's money, I'd have one of those.
Oh, please.
This again is testament to what I was talking about earlier. Now I have the Long Range T8 controller. I can control up to 8 machines, and it has voice activation. This is huge because it clips on my vest. I've got a little microphone that clips up by my collar or up on the top of my vest. And again, to go out and practice, sometimes I'm by myself. And at first I thought, well, this kind of sucks. I'm going to go out and shoot by myself. I get my best training and practice in by myself. And it's so nice. And it's unbelievable how well that voice activation works. But it's so nice. I can go out and set up by myself. I can throw 1,000 targets in one day by myself and still get the same quality practice as if I was at a club working with somebody. So that's huge. I think that's got to be a good selling point, right? I mean, you probably deal with a lot of people like myself that has that situation.
Absolutely. And what's funny about the T8 is we have access to everything, and we've got our own 5-stand right here on the property. And that's what we use is a T8 with voice, just because it's so easy. You can hand it to anybody, and it's, hit trap 3, and so you just hit the number 3. I don't think that product could be any more, any simpler. It's just awesome. Works really well.
It does.
And the receivers are the same receivers that you're going to shoot and use at nationals or US Open or any of these major events. It's the same exact technology.
Gotcha. All right, Scott. So I wanted to ask you, I know you mentioned that you're always working on new things and coming up with new ideas. Is there anything coming out soon or something that you want to make our listeners aware of?
Sure. Yeah, we're constantly working on something, and right now we manufacture every size of target in right hand and left hand versions. So if you want a left hand 60 3-axis wobble, we do all the disciplines, everything except for trap doubles. Okay. We make a great ATA machine, unbelievable skeet machines. Our sporting clay machines are, we think, the best out there. So trap doubles is the only thing we don't have. And the targets that we're throwing here on our trap doubles machine are excellent. Well, they're exactly how we want them. So you can expect to see that coming out before too long.
Coming out real soon. Okay.
Nice.
Good deal.
Well, I'm always good for either putting my foot in my mouth or putting people in a hot seat. So I'm going to try to put you in a hot seat without putting my foot in my mouth, Scott. Okay. So at the Nationals, you have the Mech course. You have the LaPorte course. Mm-hmm. Are we going to see an Atlas course?
Well, we hope so. And we think so. Last year at SHOT Show, I had a great conversation with Michael and Chris Hampton, and Chris and Michael both told me how, I asked them that question, and they said, we're very loyal, and these other people are basically in line before you. They've been here, they've been supporting us, and if an opportunity becomes available, we will certainly let you know. And so, you know, we totally understand that. We love the loyalty, and
Sure.
And we're not going anywhere. This is what we do. This is the only thing we do. We love doing it. We really don't want to go do anything else. So we're going to be here for a long time, or we hope we are. And so I think if the opportunity presents itself, we'll be ready to put a course in. Speaking of Nationals, we do have a store at Nationals now. I don't know if you've seen it, but they built a new building on Vendor Row, and so we put our store in.
Oh, nice.
It opened last year. Yeah, it's in the new building. We've got Rosini is in the first spot. We're in the second, and I believe Kohl's is going in on the other side of us. Kohl's is already there, but Kohl's just is getting so big they need more space. So I think they're moving over.
Nice.
But yeah, if you're at Nationals, at any of the major events, we're actually really any event that's at Nationals, we're there.
Well, unfortunately, with work and the distance, Nationals has been hard for Sean and I to get to, but it's on our bucket list.
Yeah, it's a must do.
We're trying to attend, hopefully this year, but if not, for sure next year. But you had mentioned Abel's Ammo. Okay, shoot me if I'm wrong, but I thought you said something about you were working with them about a big shoot that's coming up soon.
Yeah, so we have an annual shoot at Abel's. It's called the Atlas Open, and it's always been in the spring. And I believe 2020 would have been our 5th annual, and we had to cancel that. So our Atlas Open this year is March 19th, the weekend of March 19th, 17th, 18th, 19th, I believe.
Nice.
And we've had at all of our other shoots, we've been averaging about 350 shooters. Wow. And if you've never been there, I highly recommend it. It's we've seen the place grow from what it used to be to what it is now. They've got paved cart paths. I mean, it's all through the woods. It's an unbelievable facility. If you've never been there, I highly recommend it. And their store is amazing. It's right there.
Cool.
But yeah, so we're having that, and we sponsor a few of the top shooters in the country, and we think they're all going to be able to be there this year, and so we're really looking forward to that. Would
you mind sharing what shooters you guys are supporting now?
Yeah, so currently we sponsor Chad Roberts and Alex Sedulik. They're both out of California. Billy Thomas is based out of Alabama, and Clayton Nance and Janet McDougall are both in Texas, and the group of shooters that we sponsor are just, they're great shooters, but
right,
they're just awesome people and awesome individuals, and everybody's got just amazing personalities, and we've also sponsored Jared Greenwood in the past, which I'm sure you've heard of Jim Greenwood, the stock maker.
Yes, yeah,
makes world-class stocks. But so Jared's his sponsorship just expired, and we're about to renew that, so Jared will be back on the list, and these guys are great ambassadors for us, and we're really happy to be associated with them and have them represent us.
That's awesome. Scott, do everybody a favor, do yourself a favor, and let us know how we can go look at an Atlas trap, possibly order an Atlas trap.
Well, you can find our machines. All of our equipment is on our website at atlastraps.com. We've got a bunch of videos on YouTube, which really show. I think you'll see the Loon on there. We've got our Batu machine. We've got everything on there, so you can go see how these machines work. Without talking to us. We've got a dealer network across the country and several other countries. And so our dealers that represent us, they do a fantastic job, and they're scattered across the country. And we also sell direct. So, people are welcome to, if you hit the contact page on our website, you'll see a list of dealers. And of course, you can always contact us as well.
Awesome. That's awesome.
Great.
Man, we really appreciate you spending some time with us, Scott. You've definitely given our listeners a lot of good information about Atlas traps. And, man, I tell you, I really do I can't stress this enough to our listeners, what a valuable piece of equipment this is to have. So, Scott, once again, great in talking with you. We'll catch up with you soon. Hopefully we'll see you at one of these shoots. I know, like I said, Sean and I have it on our bucket list to get to the Nationals, but you really kind of got me intrigued about this shoot coming up with Abel's Ammo.
It is amazing. If you can make it to that, I would highly recommend it. We have a lot of fun, and the prizes are top notch at Abel's too. So
awesome.
I highly recommend it.
Well, Scott, thank you once again, man. Really appreciate your time this evening.
Yeah, Scott, thank you.
And
thank you, gentlemen. I appreciate the opportunity.
Yes, sir. We'll catch up soon.
Okay, take care. Thank you.
Thanks, Scott.
Bye-bye.
Well, that was a pleasure having Scott on. Wow, the guy is a wealth of information, and hopefully he got some good information out to the listeners. However, I will say that little glitch in our system here, Scott called us back, and we weren't able to catch the recording in time, but he did offer our listeners a 10% discount off of any order.
Yeah.
That is huge. Yeah. I mean, if you're ordering a $3,000 trap, it's $300.
Yeah, and the code is DeadPair10.
DeadPair10 at checkout. 10.
Yeah.
So 10% off.
And not only did he offer, I mean, that was very gracious and above and beyond what I was expecting, but he wanted us to remind the listeners that they always, year-round, offer a 10% discount to youth shooters and military members, I think both past and present. And also, for any of the clubs listening out there, they have special financing and leasing for clubs that do large volume order purchases.
Yeah, and as far as the Dead Pair 10, I think he said he was going to leave that valid to the end of March.
That's right. That's right.
To help the listeners out. And now he also, for the individual, offers financing through AmFam.
Yeah, I can't remember. It was.
I can't remember how, but it was regardless. Yeah, it's on their website. They do offer financing. So maybe if you're thinking about getting a couple traps, man, throwing down that big load up front is quite a bit. They've got a payment program. He said they've got really good interest rates on it, and you're still going to get your 10% discount as long as you use Dead Pair 10.
Yeah, he was giving an example. The AT 150 model that he has, which normally retails for $15.99, you can break that down into payments of like $100 a month. So you don't have to come out of a pocket, with a huge wad of cash. You can actually spread it out, get it paid for, and get a really, really nice trap to practice on.
Yeah, that's very helpful.
Yep. So once again, if you'd like to buy outright, the Dead Pair 10 coupon is going to be valid until the end of March. Also financing for individuals, also 10% discount for all youth and military shooters, and club leasing and financing offers for large scale purchases. So thank you very much, Scott, for that.
Yes, very much so. And that's kind of a testament too, because he said that you got the 6-year warranty. Mm-hmm. You have a lifetime warranty on the bearing. So, I mean, these are sounding like really good built traps. I think somebody ought to take advantage of this.
Yeah, they're quality traps, no fear there, and they're going to stand behind their product 100%.
Yeah, and we, I don't want to sound like a broken record, but we talked about how valuable this piece of equipment can be for training. And it's really helped me a lot too. It's tough, the coach gives you homework and sometimes you don't get a chance to do your homework. Well, this could help. So,
yeah, definitely.
But, so moving on, we're going to get to Wayne Morgan from Morgan Optical. And, I really encourage people to check out their website. We're going to get to that here too in just a second. As soon as you go on the website, you're going to see that this is an optics place built for shooters, and it's not just sporting clays. They work with rifle and pistol shooters, trap shooters, skeet shooters, and the two brothers that own it, Wayne and Tom, they are shooters themselves.
Yeah.
So that's, they can relate to an issue you're having as far as vision on a target or whatever. So, man, I feel this is going to be a good quality guest for our listeners.
Yep. I'm excited to hear from him.
Yeah. Well, let's get to Wayne Morgan. Let's give him a call.
Sounds good.
Okay. On the phone with us is Wayne Morgan of Morgan Optical. How you doing, Wayne?
I'm doing good, Jason. How you doing?
Doing fantastic. Well, we greatly appreciate you joining us. We've got some questions here. Now, our podcast, as you know, is geared more towards the new shooter, but as he becomes a competitive shooter, optics are one of the most important things. The old saying holds true. You can't hit what you can't see, right?
Absolutely.
Wayne, the backstory to Morgan Optical is a great one. Could you give us the condensed version of how it all came to be?
Well, we started making shooting glasses in the late 70s, early 80s. It was my father, Harold Morgan. And we actually started in the optical business in 1964. But as a young teenager growing up shooting, coming from a family in the optical business, it just made sense that we'd start making shooting glasses. And we never quit.
Awesome. Well, when I went to the website, it was easy to see that I went to the right place. If a shooter is looking for glasses, he or she will quickly know by looking at that website that they're at the right spot. You not only make shooting glasses for the competitive shooter, but you and your brother enjoy shooting as well.
Yes.
So, when I spoke with your brother, Tom, he was telling me that you guys can actually make lenses for any glasses. Is that correct?
Yes. For over 50 years, we owned and operated a regular optical dispensary. We employed the optometrist that worked for us. And we can make glasses for any frame, dress frame, shooting glasses, sunglasses. There's no limit to what we can do.
Wow, that's awesome. Specifically, though, you are an RE Ranger dealer. Is that correct?
Yes, we're actually Randolph's largest dealer. We've been with them since the very beginning.
Oh, wow.
We actually were looking for a frame manufacturer to build a better frame. And then once we discovered Randolph, it was kind of a perfect match. American-made company. They're in Randolph, Mass., just outside of Boston. And it just seemed like a perfect fit for American-made frames with American-made lenses.
That's awesome. I would say one of the hottest topics amongst clay shooters when you start talking about glasses is lens color. But am I correct in saying that that's kind of individualistic?
It is. Our eyes are very much like fingerprints, and no two will ever be identical, but there's definitely certain colors that stand out a little bit more than others for most people. The Max Light, for example, for low light, overcast, cloudy, dusk and dawn, sort of a light goldish color, absorbs a lot of the scattered blue light. The HD Medium, which is sort of a tangerine color, is probably our number one lens, our number one go-to lens, and if I could only have one lens in my bag, that's what it would be. For real bright conditions, there's dark purple, there's some polarized options, but it can vary geographically. What you're shooting, where you're shooting, a sporting clay customer may not necessarily want a lens as dark as a trap shooter or a skeet shooter might.
Right.
So we custom tailor everything right to the individual's particular needs.
That's awesome. And you guys do almost like your own custom colors. Am I correct?
Yes. We have a number of colors that we do. Somebody looking at lime green targets, they're generally going to like blue lenses. We have a standard blue. We have a polarized blue. We have a number of transition lenses that we started working with this year. The most popular is what we're calling shooter's gold. It goes from yellow to brown. But we also have a transition HD medium, which goes from the HD medium to a brown. And there's some reds in there, and there's a few other colors that we're still working with to fine-tune our development so that the shooter can actually have one lens that'll serve dual purposes.
Awesome. Now, one thing I think is really cool, and the way that you are relevant for all of our listeners and can help all of our listeners is, like myself, my eyes are a mess. So I went to my local optometrist and had a refraction or an eye exam done. And he was able to send that information from his office right to yours. And then you and Tom made me an awesome set of RE Rangers. That's available for all the listeners, right? I didn't misspeak by saying that, did I?
No, that's correct. The best prescription for us to use is the same prescription that you can wear every day. You can have your doctor's office fax it. You can take a picture and send it with your phone. You're able to text that right directly to us, as well as email. The two things we need is your prescription. Along with your prescription, you want to ask for a PD measurement. PD stands for pupillary distance. A lot of doctors' offices are a little skeptical of giving that out nowadays because of online ordering, but we have a very small, specific niche, and usually once you explain it to them, they're pretty cooperative.
Yeah, because you definitely want to get your, oh boy, help me out here with the terminology. You're basically trying to get your center focal point out of the lens in line with your eye, correct?
Yes, whenever you're making glasses, you always want your optical center over your pupil. That way you minimize and eliminate any unwanted prism that you would build into the lens by doing it any other way.
Gotcha.
And with the new lenses and the technology that we have today, most of our lenses are all digitally surfaced lenses. So it's important to have everything lined up just exactly as it needs to be to give you the best possible visual acuity that you can get.
That's awesome. Now, one thing that, you and I had previous discussion on the phone is you were telling me about transition lenses, and that's really helpful for a shooter, especially in sporting clays, because we go from a wood situation where it may be, heavily shaded out into an open field just in one tournament or one course. So I found that fascinating. You can do transition lenses for just about any frame of shooting glass. Am I correct?
Yes, and there's some variables there, but the one caution that you have to take into consideration, like with most transition lenses, once you're outside, it's the ultraviolet light that's going to activate that lens. So they don't always lighten as quick as you may want them, but the transition lenses that we've been using and developing and experimenting with, they don't get so dark that you'll ever, when you go into the woods, you're not going to feel like you're wearing welding glasses.
Right.
And they work quite well. A lot of the transitions are geared a little bit more towards your wing shooter, somebody that's in the field. But we have that shooter's gold that I mentioned earlier that goes from yellow to brown. It's a great lens because you could start out at 7 o'clock in the morning. It's going to be more yellow. As the sun gets brighter, it's going to darken to a very comfortable amber. And then towards the end of the day, or if you were to end up shooting at night, it's back to that light yellow that it started as. So it's sort of one lens for the whole day.
That is so cool. That is very cool. I'm definitely going to look into maybe my next set of lenses. I might have you guys do that for me because that is definitely intriguing.
Well, we can do those in single vision. It's a digitally surfaced lens, and it's also available with a bifocal option.
Oh, wow.
To my knowledge, we're the only person that's offering this bifocal. It's actually a 45 millimeter wide bifocal that we can put extremely low in the lens, customize the optical center up where it's needed to be, and that again is available in both polycarbonate and Trivex.
Wow. Speaking of that, so, Sean and I have really, really tried to push the new shooter not to make the mistakes that we did. We spent money in the wrong direction. It doesn't matter if it was the gun, the shell bag, the vest, and especially in glasses. So for the new shooter, can you explain why it's so important that they spend the extra money and go the extra mile with glasses? For example, like a set of RE Rangers versus like your cheap Walmart, safety or shooting glasses.
Well, the quality of the lens makes a world of difference. The non-prescription lenses, as well as the prescription lenses that we do here, they're custom done to your particular prescription or needs. Everything is of the highest quality optical lens that we can get. A lot of your cheaper safety glasses are mass-produced, they're poured. You just don't get the quality that you're going to get. And of course, as you know, the better the quality of the vision, the better the visual acuity, the quicker your target acquisition is. The other factor that's important is the safety.
Right, and that was
everybody wants to use their shooting glasses to see better, but also you want to keep them as safe as you can possibly be and still obtain maximum target acquisition.
Absolutely, for sure. This is the exciting part. You were mentioning to me that you might be willing to help our listeners out a little bit.
Absolutely. And if somebody was to call up and just mention Dead Pair or mention that they heard this on the podcast, we'll give a 10% discount on the first order.
Oh, wow.
And go from there.
That is awesome. I greatly appreciate that. And I can tell you right now, there's going to be a lot of listeners that's going to help a ton. So, Wayne, thank you so much. I know you're a very busy individual. Catching up with you is difficult just because you are so busy. So I really appreciate you taking the time to speak with us. I think you've got some really good information out there for our listeners to help get them started. If they have any further questions, can you go ahead and let everybody know your website address or maybe a phone number they can get a hold of you?
Absolutely. The website is morganoptical.net. You'll find my email at the bottom of the website. That's Wayne at morganoptical.net. In addition to the phone numbers, we have a 1-800 number. It's 1-800-594-0175. And we're also able to take text messages. And here in the next couple of weeks, I'm going to be set up so that I can also do a Zoom conference call. And that's going to be kind of nice, and I'm excited about that because for the first time, we'll be able to see each other face-to-face, person-to-person.
Oh, wow.
And I think that's going to be a nice feature. And, of course, with the craziness that we've all gone through over the last year, Zoom has kind of become a household standard. So we're going to incorporate that into the business as well.
That's awesome. That's really cool. Well, Wayne, thank you again very much. We appreciate you spending the time with us, and I'm sure I'm going to be talking to you soon because those transition lenses have me intrigued. So thank you again. Appreciate it. If you would, tell your brother Thomas said hi, and we'll be talking to you all soon.
Okay, that sounds great.
Thanks, Wayne.
All right, thank you for having me.
Yes, sir.
Wow, Jason, that was some awesome information from the guys at Morgan Optical, and very, very kind, very, very generous to offer our listeners a 10% discount.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, here we go again. Somebody else in the industry that's willing to help these shooters. So
yeah, I
hope you listeners are taking advantage of this. I mean, this is huge. So now we have 10% off from Morgan Optical.
Yep.
You use the code DEADPAIR when you call in.
Yep.
Atlas Traps. Again, huge.
Dead Pair 10.
Dead Pair 10.
Yep.
10% off your order. And you know what? If you stop and think about that, you're ordering a couple of traps. Now you're talking some big money,
that's
right?
Big bucks there. So big bucks.
And going back, so there's also a 10% discount at Wild Hair.
Yep. And I believe that was Dead Pair 10 as well.
DP10.
Oh, DP10. No, DP10. I stand corrected.
Yep, DP10 at checkout. And then, of course, Pro Ears, huge.
25% discount if you use the code DEADPAIR25.
That's incredible. I mean, off $1,000 set of earplugs, you're talking about $250. So that's huge savings. And I hope all you listeners are taking advantage of this. These people are willing to help. They've got wonderful products, some of which Sean and I have ourselves and can testify that they are great products.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, but definitely taking advantage of this. Speaking of reminders, make sure you follow us, like us on Facebook, share. Don't be afraid to share the podcast with your friends and family.
Yep.
And we also now have a YouTube channel. It's under the Dead Pair Podcast. So just go to YouTube, search for Dead Pair Podcast, and subscribe. And every time we launch a new episode, it'll be right there for you. You won't have to go dig for it.
Yeah. And another thing, too, don't be afraid if you guys have any ideas about show topics, people that you'd like us to interview, manufacturers, you name it. Drop us a line, send us an email, give us your ideas because we'd love to be able to get them on the show. Again, we're doing this for you guys, so we definitely want to do a podcast based on what you guys want to hear.
Yeah, absolutely. And we love hearing from people too.
Yeah.
The comments have been great. We've got some great suggestions as well. And it's awesome because, we can see numbers, we can see how many downloads, but it really puts it on a personal level when we get to hear from everybody.
Yeah, definitely.
But we've got some more things coming up here. Well, actually, a lot of things. We got a big slate full for quite a while now. But we're always looking for the next thing to try and help. So don't hesitate to get a hold of us.
Yeah, we're going to keep working through the winter here in the nasty weather in the north side. I'll be heading down to Florida for the Gator Cup here pretty soon.
Jerk.
Well, hey, somebody's got to do it. And then before you know it, hopefully we get through this cold stretch of winter, and then we get into the spring season. The spring shooting season will open back up. Be a lot of opportunities to talk to people there. A lot of tournaments, a lot of gatherings and stuff, and hopefully the COVID nastiness will be behind us by that point.
Yeah, for sure.
We can only hope.
And we got some really cool ideas when the weather breaks. We're going to dig into a few things and might be involved with some shoots, might be involved with being at some big shoots and doing some interviews.
Yep.
Of course, we love doing that. Love giving everybody's, a competitor's perspective on everything. So we got some really cool guests coming up too. I know I've said that quite a bit, but these are really cool guests, and I hope you guys can get some really good information from them.
Yeah, and definitely. Thank you guys for tuning in to the Dead Pair, and we look forward to seeing you again soon.
All right, we'll see you next time. Trapper ready?
Pole, baby.